Welcome back, everybody, to Capes and Cowls, Big Thing Edition. It's our comic book movie show, all of it, everything encompassing the world of comic books inside of movies, TVs, the whole 9 yards. We talk about it on this show. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. She-Hulk, episode 1. This will be a spoiler-heavy discussion on episode 1. Now, Coy and I did get a chance to see episodes 1 through 4, and if we do speak about those, it'll be mostly about the tone and non-spoilery, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you have not watched episode 1, when it comes to that section, there will be time codes as well in this episode. If you haven't seen it yet and you want to see it, I advise passing through. Well, what the hell else can I listen to if I don't hear you guys talk about that? Well, funny you should ask. We also will be talking about Ezra Miller. We talked about Ezra Miller on last week's show and the 3 options provided to him by Zoloft. And what happened inside of that? What did Ezra Miller choose? Well, they apologized. And we'll talk about that. Too little, too late. We'll get into that conversation. There's other things. Not Swamp Thing, Man Thing. That's not similar at all. There was a movie back in 2005 that Kevin Feige liked. There's Kang news. There's other things.
Like remembering your friend's name.
Yeah, right, Wilson.
What was that, Wilson?
I'm going to kill both.
You brought it up. All right, so with that being said, the other thing I wanted to say is we're getting a little look at this, guys. You can be very excited. Look, now I can do this. And now I can do this. You can see myself, but what you should see is the big thing on podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You might not be able to see it when you're listening to it in audio, but you know that it's there. And you can go on Apple Podcasts, you can go on Spotify, you can go on there, you click on there, and you help us out. It's been helping us tremendously for everybody who's been signing up. We get ourselves some great sponsors because of it, and we continue this show on and 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 on. So make sure you do that. Go on over there, and if you haven't done it, go ahead and subscribe. 70,000, get into that road, but we need your help. All right. It's Capes and Cowls. It's me. It's Coy. It's Winston. And let's do it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Capes and Cowls. Big thing. Sitting next to me, Winston A. Marshall.
I was going to be real pissed if you would change the bottom.
To the bottom. I don't know. Yeah. I haven't learned this Photoshop enough yet. So,
too much work. Too much for that.
Thank God.
And there's Coy. Oh, you know what, Coy? I got to fix
Am I too tall?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to ask you to do something that's not hard for you to do. Talk for a second.
Oh, me talking. Okay, so the thing about She-Hulk is, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to get in fights online about it.
But you did. Can you have Winston's penis in your face? Can you move it out of the way?
There it is. I got Winston's Wilson right here, and Winston's Wilson's causing problems.
Wilson right there.
Yeah, it was a long week for me,
dude. Because I follow you on TikTok, and I don't seek out your videos. The algorithm just will send them,
which is great. What a friend.
No.
You know what? I'll watch it when they happen.
I don't watch your garbage. It's shoved on me. I will.
But if it happens,
I can finish my statement. Shit. I don't seek it out because whenever your stuff comes up, I watch it to completion. So the algorithm presents it to me, so I don't have to.
Probably helps me more. I appreciate it.
There you go.
I appreciate you.
You didn't let me finish my statement.
Look at her.
But people, I saw the one comment that you went where it's like, well, is it just like MCU? Are they just like, it's all about the women now? And they're like, fuck me.
But how great is that, by the way, that, and I don't, that they, but what's great about it is the way that this show writes, and especially that type of stuff. And it doesn't do it in an antagonizing way. It does it in a almost like a, this is the way the world is right now, and these are the things that are happening. These are certainly some of the comments that are going to be made in general and that have been made in general about certain things happening in our space and other spaces. And here's our take on it. And of course you're going to rile some people up by doing that, and they know that. But it's the jokes in this show that I thought were so smart.
Yeah.
And remember, when I've talked about this show with you guys beforehand, I didn't think the trailers were really good. I didn't think that the CGI looked very good.
Yeah.
And I was concerned because we're coming off of Love and Thunder, which was essentially a Saturday Night Live sketch.
And the comedy in this works so much better for me than Love and Thunder.
Absolutely.
Like, this feels like it's made for the right
balance.
Audience. Yeah.
And the other thing, it doesn't ignore the MCU and what comes before it.
Right.
It's like it shows love to all of it, and it doesn't, like, we've said it many times with Thor, Love and Thunder. Thor, Love and Thunder almost seems like a parody at times. Even when the comedy is at a 10 in this show, it never feels like a parody.
And there's a character that we meet in one of the next 4 episodes that is utilized in a new way, and that was the moment I fully trusted the show.
Right.
There was a character, you know who I'm talking about,
Yeah, I think
where
so.
I immediately was like, oh, they're
in
making
episode
this,
2.
yes, they're making this completely a different tone while being completely authentic. And I was like, oh, you can do everything.
Because it has I know what you're talking about, and the answer to that is because it has an explanation.
Yeah, it doesn't just happen at
It doesn't just happen. If there's an explanation behind things and behind changes, and the explanation works, it might not work for everybody.
Sure.
But if there's an explanation that you go, oh, well, that's why they chose that character path, or that's why they chose that decision, and you go, okay, well, does it make sense in the history that has been set up? And to me, I went, yes, because what I've been talking about, the way I said, I was on a campus show the other day, and I was talking to him and Robert Brian Burnett about how I went into this show. I basically went into this show like when you go to if you're doing stand-up comedy and you're going to like it's the night of like a showcase, right? And the agent walks in and the agent is like, I've been to so many of these things, arms folded, make me laugh, right?
Yeah.
That's how arms. I went into She-Hulk like that, and my arms went down within 15 seconds.
I love that you're aware of that for you, and you still got out of it, like what you wanted to. That's great.
Because
Most people don't go into shows knowing how they felt.
You said within 15 seconds?
30 seconds because
Because it started with her speech, right?
100%. And the second that came up, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The second it came up, I said, this show knows what it wants to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, this is a television show. This is a 32-minute television show.
I love that for it.
Me too. It doesn't feel like a show that should be longer.
Or a 9-part movie.
No.
It feels like a show.
Obi-Wan needed another 15 to 20 minutes per episode. Stranger Things is perfect on the hour and a half, hour 15 minutes.
But I like that Stranger Things wasn't tied to any runtime. Like
I
one episode to the next episode to the end.
Absolutely.
I really like that it was free flow. It was jazz.
I don't
you know
want
what I mean?
this show to be any longer than it is.
It feels right.
It feels right.
And I also like that they didn't do. Obviously we saw the 4 screeners, but I'm glad it's week to week, and I'm glad they didn't do 2 up front. Because now we're having this conversation. For example, how are you liking how the episode ended going into like now we see what the lawyer of it all is?
I thought what was cool about it is we obviously need to explore.
Did you like it, by the way?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
I saw your tweets because I follow you, and sometimes I investigate beyond what the algorithm says.
Do you? Because I haven't tweeted about it yet. So therefore,
really?
I did
I thought you
not.
commented on someone's thing.
You lied.
did
I'm gonna investigate.
Oh my
I'm gonna
God!
investigate what I saw.
Coy has a second black friend, and he can't differentiate.
It's
between
Wilson A. Marshall that I follow.
This.
Is that not him?
It's not me. It is not me.
Let's be respectful. Wilson, go ahead.
Damn it! I'm gonna start calling you
Idiot.
I'm gonna start calling you Cracker and Coconut. That's gonna be y'all names.
Ladies
from now
and gentlemen,
on.
I'll even
Cracker
do
Harloff.
I'll do the voice for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is my name is Cracker Harloff,
And I am Coconut Jandreau.
Coconut Jandreau.
What's funny is my little sister called me
Wilson
Coco before she could say Coy, so that totally plays Coconut.
Perfect.
Yep,
But
I didn't
please
tweet
go
about
ahead.
it.
It was
You didn't.
no real talk though. It was actually really well done. How they'd even go right into it. I love the moment when she realizes she can talk to the fourth wall for the first time because she does it.
Just right away.
Well, right away she does it and she knows she can do it. I'm saying after she turns.
Oh, you mean the
into
first
a
time she
Hulk,
discovers it on the
first time
beach,
she goes, "What is that?" And they both are like, "Who the hell are you talking to?"
Yeah.
I thought that was really
Really
funny.
smart. You know what I really liked about it also, though, was that they did something very smart in the first episode, was they gave you the Hulk for the whole damn episode where he's essentially passing baton, but he doesn't steal it from her.
No.
Right.
And there's things and the chemistry between the two of them and the jokes that they throw in. That's what I always say. Like if the jokes work and it's relevant to it, the Bing Bong joke
Dude,
was
beautiful.
I didn't even hear the Bing Bong.
Oh,
joke.
when she's in the thing, she's like, just put on a Pixar movie. The moment and then like he goes,
oh, Bing Bong.
yeah, like there's an in Disney moment. And the bruh, that might be the best use of bruh I've seen in media.
Remind me.
When he breaks the door and they're talking, and then Hulk just goes, bruh.
Right.
No, that was funny. That was great, and I love the fact that we really got at the core of their differences quickly.
Yes.
I think we needed to establish that and not sort of stumble through it towards the end.
Yeah.
I think going, no, there's not a second person here. The fact that there is the kind of tongue-in-cheek nod, which remind me a lot of one of the few jokes in Black Widow that I thought landed outside of just Elena being hilarious. When Red Guardian was like, "Oh, what do you at that time of month?" And they're like, "Nah, because I'm a monster because I had my uterus ripped out, you jackhole."
Right.
So the fact that he was like, "You got to be careful. You're gonna be angry all the time," and she's like, "I am angry all the time. Do you know how many times I've had to control my rage?" And to immediately give the nod two women watching the show being like, you goddamn right. And the other half of it being like, oh, another difference here that things are going to be good. Like, it was great.
It was great. And it sets it up where it's this, everyone's been using this, the Ally McBeal of Marvel. And it absolutely is. And it of course, it's the show is called She-Hulk. Of course it's going to skew towards a female audience. So people are going, oh, it's just for women. So what? This show is for women. Is it funny to you when you're watching it?
I've also never had a uterus, and I think it's hilarious.
Same.
Like I haven't.
Same.
I see the comments of like maybe it's not for you to other people, but I'm like
but here's the thing. So this goes off the same conversation that we had about Warner Brothers and Zoloft and all that stuff last week. So even though that the demographic numbers show that HBO Max
the Venn diagram, yeah.
But even it shows like realistically that their audience is, let's say 80% men, and whatever 20% women, okay. Same thing with us on this show. We have a higher demographic on men, but it doesn't mean that the women that aren't watching it don't really enjoy it.
Right.
So what if it's the opposite this time? What if this particular show is skewed for women, but men who are watching it love it? You know what it means? Hit.
Yeah, it means you meet a new demographic as well as your demographic.
The first season of Sex and the City was skewed towards women, obviously, but had a lot of stuff that pertained to men. It started to just be way more, in my opinion, way more towards just for women towards the last couple of seasons. It was harder for me to relate to it. But the first like 3 or 4 seasons, I was watching it because you could watch it with a girlfriend or whatever too, but you could still like, this is hilarious, and there's people that I could relate to inside of it. And I think they're doing the same thing with this show.
And I think that... Sorry.
All I was going to say is it reminds me of this weird, like, shock that the industry had that Black Panther was, like, so widely received. Because they're like, well, that just seems like the black superhero movie. It's going to be whatever. And yet... It is what, the third or fourth highest grossing.
What's just black people watching the movie?
It is the only MCU film to get nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
Like, it's one of those situations where black people rocked with it heavy, but everyone rocked
doesn't mean
with
I didn't see it 3 times. Like, I was there 3 times.
That's
like, as you know what I mean.
So there's no reason that if the show isn't dynamite, which so far it is, that it. Yes, women might be the main champions talking about it, but why can't men love the show too?
Well, and I think sorry, Kobe. That's what they set up really well, and I think by putting the Hulk in there, it shows you like and she says, and this is in a trailer in a scene. I wish they actually didn't have shown this, but where she addresses it, and I think that they cut out a portion of it that doesn't really do it justice. She looks and she goes, just remember whose show this is in that clip that they showed. There's a longer lead into that plays really well, but by setting up and putting the Hulk in there, what it does do is it eases you into it by going, well, look at the relationship too, and does it make sense on how she got her powers? Because I like that they didn't necessarily have to make the whole damn thing an origin, even though the first episode, well, she's got to get used to it, she's got to figure it out. There are things that she has inside of her blood that makes it work, and that was when they got me immediately. I was so locked into that first episode.
I was so impressed that they were able to balance these tones while also not feeling like they're shortchanging our new lead. Like, it did feel like I was going to speak to what you said about Hulk being in it but not stealing focus. We've been with Hulk for years, 15 years, and they're able to do so much to make us aware that, we know you're watching this Hulk show, but this is her Hulk show, and it didn't feel like what I feel like everyone complains about, the MCU bros. The people that are like, oh, they're just undermining our characters with these new characters. No, it feels like a new character. It didn't feel like Hulk was less at any point because of She-Hulk, and that is a hard line to walk with a new character.
They address that.
If anything, they elevate Hulk.
Yeah.
Because there's more to now, like, as far as the MCU version of Hulk and what we're trying to understand, more mysteries were added there, where it was like, wait, you don't have a second person there, which we both know because we've read the books.
Yeah.
That because of the abuse he got from his dad, he actually developed split personality.
And there's more than 2 voices for him and a lot of continuities, which could be very interesting.
Absolutely. So the idea that we got that little nod and we know what's going on there and maybe why that's going on, but all of a sudden you heal a little bit different than I do, or like, okay, it really is just adding more layers.
Yes. And she says it too. She says, I'm not you.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of all of that was the commercial that they showed, or the clip that they showed in the trailer, was when he throws the boulder And then she throws it, and everyone's like, wow, wait a minute, how does she throw it farther than him? And then they didn't show that he launches it into space because he's so pissed off, and she's like, good for you.
And it's him being a curmudgeonly dude. Like, it's him being
he's just showing, he's like, sorry. He's like, I had to show you. He's like, I'm still a lot stronger than you, and probably shouldn't have showed you up that way, but I had to do it. And it's like, of course, the Hulk
that's such a dude thing to do.
Absolutely, and the fight that they have is hilarious. It's it worked.
It genuinely speaks to the fact that, and I find it kind of hilarious. Like, other than advancing the story that we're learning about, it speaks to the fact that there are things that both men and women are both good, they can be good at. Some you have to work a little bit harder, and some you don't. So the fact that Bruce is like, I've had to do all of this work to get my emotions in check and figure out this balance and make sure I don't ever just lose it, blah blah blah, and she's like, oh, all right, cool. And she handles it. And then she's got to figure out how to make like her strength work a little bit better to her advantage. But he's like, I just don't, like, you're showing how they're both valued in their own ways, and they can both reach each other's levels to a certain point. It's just really, really well done.
And doing it comedically. And doing it, and like everyone was complaining, like, oh, it's going to be another comedy. I'm like, no, it is a comedy. It is not another comedy. It is a legit comedy.
It was written
that is the tone of the show.
Well, that's the difference with Thor.
Yes, this is made to be a comedy.
Thor has had so many different iterations so far, and the first two was not really a comedy, even those comedic moments with Kat and all that. But in Infinity War, I still think that that's the best version of Thor that we've seen so far.
Endgame and Infinity War, my Thor.
Ragnarok certainly had a balance of comedy, absolutely. If not, some people will say it's even more so than the previous ones, which I get. But this, right out of the gate, is a comedy. It is supposed to be comedy. It's supposed to be Ally McBeal. And Tatiana Maslany is so masterful in this role. But I will say this, my least favorite part of the whole show was the very end, where
in the courtroom?
The courtroom.
Or she like Kool-Aid Man's in.
It's the look of who was it? The person?
Jamil.
Is that
Titania?
Is Titania?
Yeah, it's funny because
you know what it looked like.
What are the chances that a lead is cast with a similar name to the villain that is cast, Tatiana and Titania? And what are the chances they cast an actress who sounds like a superhero, Jamil?
Okay,
like it is so confusing. Titania, Titania, like
and all that though. But what got me about it was that it looked like it was almost like a scene out of The Boys, like where she pops in. She didn't fit, like the same way that I say that in Boba Fett. On Tatooine, the Power Ranger bikers show up, right? It seemed like out of place stuff, and I was like, that even though the comedic tone was still the same, that particular person seemed like, well, who is that? But I will say, I haven't seen the rest of the series,
and I do wonder how that it gets incorporated.
Probably, but it just seemed a little out of place. But it was such a nitpicky thing.
Yeah, overall, like this is an A- for me. That is
why it didn't bother me. I think is because since we've already established that she's a little like She-Hulk, and the way this is going to go is out of the ordinary. Right. Her whole situation out of the ordinary. For her to just pop through the wall like that.
I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that. I mind the look of it. The look. Having someone pop through the wall and fight, fine. I'm talking about the tone of it just seemed off. It seemed like something out of The Boys more so than it did the She-Hulk tone that was set up. But and who this person was. It's like, did this person? What do they call it? What's the thing that they put in The Boys?
Compound V.
It's like almost like this person had Compound V and popped through the wall. Like, who is that person? Why is that person a superhero? Why is She-Hulk fighting this person out of nowhere? It's like, and that's what it starts to set up more and more.
I get that, and I'm curious with you obviously have more knowledge having seen episode 2. It made sense to me that it was kind of like, okay, we only got like 2 seconds for this because we had to spend the rest of the episode explaining what's going on.
And apparently the origin stuff was in a later episode and they moved it. So I apparently like episode 8 had the origin and instead they front loaded it to make it more general. And I think it's impressive they were able to do it and it feel as natural as it did, because like I was like, this is how you start a show.
I'm glad they caught it because they even gave a nod to themselves for catching it. Okay, yes, I'm a Hulk. Let me tell you why.
So you're invested in this lawyer show.
You're not thinking about it the whole time.
Well, yeah.
Because that might have been every test audience's.
Because you also pass the torch with Hulk. And you say, all right, you wanted to see Hulk, you saw him, but know that this isn't a Hulk show. This is a She-Hulk show. But you get a lot of them.
What I love is you now want more Hulk and She-Hulk.
Yes, but you also get answers to questions in a short period of time. Like, what the hell happened with his hand?
Yeah, how'd you fix your arm? Here's some dialogue.
And how do you get past that?
Yep.
Well,
what were you doing during the blip? Here's my lab.
All of it. And I was like, and the way that it played, and the reminiscent when he would talk about Tony and how that played, like, it was amazing.
That was the big thing for me, I think, because a lot of people have really pointed to now that people were like, well, what's the big connection in Phase 4? I don't like, origins for new people, but what is the big connection? And we once again get at the core of it, that grief is the center of Phase 4. We've dealt with the blip. How do you deal, and Thanos and the loss of Tony, how do you deal with all that grief? To see Bruce be like, dude, like, me and Tony were doing this thing. He was here with the bar. To see, like, the initials, that you see how much this has been affecting him, too. I thought that was just so great. But my favorite moment by far is the fact that she has an entire theory about how Captain America is a virgin.
Yeah.
And then the post-credit, see, Captain America, just like
one of my, I will tease this without a spoiler. One of my favorite jokes in the entire MCU, like the whole thing, is in episode 2. There is a joke in the middle of episode 2 that I think is 15 years in the making that I'm so happy
Can
about.
you remind me-ish without spoiling it?
It involves a Hulk reference while he's on the phone.
I know what you're talking about.
I can make a guess.
It is genius.
It is so perfect.
Genius.
It is an A+ joke.
It's genius.
And I literally went, and it changed everything.
Was it a full writer's room or one individual took this on? Do you know?
I think mostly it is. Oh my gosh, give me Jessica. Oh shoot, give me the writer's name.
Jessica Gao, is that right?
Yes, is it?
That's not the director.
The director is Quarro, Kat Quarro.
Okay.
Kat Quarro.
Because I didn't realize I was at the premiere, and her husband is Billy Walsh from Entourage, who's in it.
In the show, yeah.
So like they were like together, and I was like, he directed Median. So it was like funny for me that the director of She-Hulk was with the director in my head of Median. I was like, the director couple.
Right? Jessica Gao, I think so. Yes, Jessica Gao. She's a very, very talented.
So
she does the majority of the writing on it. I think there's obviously other writers.
Some support, like Dana Schwartz is one of the supporting writers. There's some like writer's room,
What they've been doing, which I thought was pretty interesting but smart with these MCU shows, they've been...
Do you say MCU?
If I did, it slipped. But with the MCU
Wilson's
show,
a big alt-right guy. Winston, lovable. It's your
problem.
Hulk, your alter ego.
My alter ego is just very, like, you fucking snowflakes. Like, it's just, okay. So,
get to it, you shill.
Talk about how much you love Marvel, Winston.
Oh,
get to
God.
it.
Oh, this guy right here. No, right there.
Oh,
anyway,
man.
It's been exactly that. They bring somebody, they bring on a duo, they bring on a director, they bring on a writer. You might have a small writer's room to maybe propel the main writer, but that's there. It's really just that person. So I'm glad to see that they've continued to do that, so that you are getting that continuity for your 6, your 8, your 9 episodes, whatever it is they've been giving. I think it's been working.
And the flow of this, I really liked how it moved.
Yeah.
And I will say that, like, the lawyer aspects of it, I'm really excited to go forward. Like, I didn't realize how much I wanted a fun procedural MCU show. I thought it sounded like a novel idea. I thought it sounded like, oh, that's unique. And I was more excited by the novelty, but now that I've seen some of it, I'm like, oh, I want a lawyer show. And that's so special.
I was getting tired of the overpowering comedy in Marvel. I was getting tired of it. And I said, I don't know. I was like, can we get back? And I said it. I want to see more. I want to see Rage Hulk
I'm
again.
a street level guy.
I know, but I want to
see that.
And I wanted to see Rage Hulk again. I wanted to see that version. You see him for a second and kind of gets real pissed off. But I wasn't upset that he was still, as they say in this, Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's pretty pretentious. Whatever.
Smug.
Smug.
Not my name for it.
Right. but that whole thing, and the way that he played, and the way that Mark Ruffalo and Tatiana's chemistry is just really wonderful.
If I have to make, I mean, you guys might already know this, but if I have to make a prediction as to what's going to happen by the time this season is over, I think because it's teased with her using the whole hand clapping thing, it's gonna probably be a situation where somehow Bruce loses it and she's gonna have to fight him, and she's obviously gonna be at a disadvantage because he's stronger, but she'll come up with her own kind of creative way to, like, stop him. And I'm curious what spurs it on, but even bringing up Sakaar again, that has tipped me. I was
my thing is, I think, you know, we have to differentiate these two characters. So I see something long game happening where
Well, what about,
we do have angry Hulk.
Well, what about
inevitably?
What about the fact that we're not even talking about the way they get into that car accident in the first place is that spaceship just kind of. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, like, what is happening? And the fact that whole and because that was where I said, all right, you know why I like this show already? It's because you can have the car crash they treat very serious.
Yeah,
and it's not like a goofy thing like. I hate to keep using the reference of Thor, but like the difference in that movie, like when Lady Sif was. Not one of the things I hated the most was she's like dying and he doesn't he doesn't even care and he's cracking jokes.
It'd be like if they made a joke in the car crash. Yeah, it'd be like if they woke up and there was a joke and then she transformed.
Right. I liked after it's settled and after that serious moment, she's running off into the woods and he's trying to figure it out.
That whole beat stayed dramatic.
It stayed dramatic, and it only turned comedic.
And the first joke back was the other women going like, "Oh my god!" And even that was dramatically comedic to blend.
Dude, that was so funny.
Handing her phones, doing her makeup.
So Kristen hasn't. I kept telling her, I was like, if there's like she's been doing the MC Watch, it's been very slow. But I was like, if there's ever a show for you to watch, I was like, I think you're really gonna love Miss Marvel. But everything I've seen so far with She-Hulk, I think it's gonna be right up your alley. She was getting ready for work this morning, and all she saw was the ladies running in, and she just started cracking up. She was like, that's exactly how it is. Some girl's crying in the bathroom where it looks disheveled. All of a sudden, girl, what you need? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's really good.
And that's a good way to elevate out of drama into comedy that feels natural. That's a good way to make it feel real while still being very funny.
But it also is a way to stay consistent into telling people this is what our show is in episode 1.
Yeah.
And you can say it's a Marvel show. It is absolutely a Marvel show, but it's a procedural comedy lawyer show, and it's dealing with this woman's issues in life in her early 30s of what she's going to be doing and how she's going to be approaching it and how she's approaching her life in general and decisions she needs to make. And now she has this thing where she's got to figure out how to be a She-Hulk. And I also love the idea that they don't have to hammer it down and saying, oh, it's like she's got to figure out how to be a superhero now. And it's like, yeah, she's got to balance it, but it's not the constant like, oh, now I'm super strong. I like the idea that it's a little more natural to her because then you'd have to play into that every single time.
We get to have a new story as opposed to like, the struggle of an origin, I'm oppressed by this new power.
We're 13 years into this thing.
We want to feel this.
Yes.
It's also the fact that you're not getting a lot of stories of people being like, I don't want to be a superhero.
Right.
You get it every now and again, but it's never like, it's cool to see that like, no. You like her even bring up, you know how many loans I have to pay back? Do you know I was 2 seconds away from getting that partner promotion? Kiss my ass. I'm not doing this.
Yep.
And then realizing she doesn't have a choice.
That with great power comes great responsibility in even the courtroom. Like, I love that happened at her. So it feels, I don't know, man, I really dug it. Like, this is, if this sticks the landing, and that's always my thing with Marvel, if the last episode is as good as the first act, this will be in that top 3-4 spot.
I will say this, and this isn't a spoiler. This isn't a spoiler. This is just my opinion of out of the first 4. Loved the first 2. Mm-hmm. Really liked the second 2.
I liked 2 more than 1.
I could see 1. Just because of everything that the way they were switched up and brought the Hulk in and established what the show was. I thought it was so well done. But I'm not going to argue with anyone that says 2 is just 3 and 4 to me. Even though I really liked it, starts to get into a little bit more goofier. Starts to get a little more sillier at times and really plays into the comedy. And I was like, just reel it back just a little. And going back to moments like the car crash or other things, I want to see. Like I thought,
how they handled that overall balance.
I thought 1 and 2 balanced it very well. I thought 3 and 4 starts to go a little bit more into comedy, but maybe now because there's so many.
About an act structure, right? The second act. So what I'm saying is, hopefully, the show is using that 9 episodes to allow for that, and then to get more dramatic.
Absolutely,
again. Hopefully,
absolutely, they can do that. What I've
That's
seen
a fair concern.
Yeah, what I've seen so far is just like because there's a couple times where I'm like, well, that was really silly, and not the stuff that's going on. That calls for silliness. There's stuff like in her dating life that calls for silliness. We see in the trailer where she picks the dude up. Hilarious. And it works inside of it. It's stuff when it starts to play into, well, that could have been dramatic. And I'll just say this. There's a drunk person that shows up that feels way out of place and it feels so goofy at times. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, this now just feels like a Taika movie, this part.
It didn't go as far as that for me, but I do understand your concern.
I'm going with it?
I get your concern.
Yeah.
But my thing is, with the act structure, I'm hoping it's just a matter of like, hey, trust us, let's have some levity, and we got to get serious now that we're endeared to her. Like, we're using the comedy to make sure you love us and the show, and now let's go this way.
Well, speaking of dating life, I hope that Well, sure.
I mean, that's fair.
You know what? She should protect her internet. She should be protecting her internet. She should absolutely be protecting her internet. And I'll tell you what. She should have private internet access because if she wants to make sure she's safe. Make sure you guys are safe. So today's episode is actually sponsored by Private Internet Access. It is the most transparent VPN provider on the market. And it is just software that you need to protect yourself and your digital life. And you might not even be aware of this, but if you browse in incognito mode, you're not safe online. Your internet service provider is still storing your browsing history, and it can sell it to advertisers. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Private Internet Access, what it does is it encrypts your internet connection, and it hides your IP address, and it protects you. And all you have to do is connect to one of their 1,000 servers located in over 80 countries, and even a server in each U.S. state, so you can avoid sporting event blackouts, for example. Plus, you'll be able to get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content on streaming platforms. Private Internet Access has a strict no-logs policy, and it's 100% open source. It's also available for all operating systems, and one subscription can protect up to 10 devices at the same time, which is pretty awesome. So this is the best deal, one of the best deals that we've ever had on this show. If you want to start securing your digital life, I have a special deal available for all of you. You can get an amazing 82% discount on Private Internet Access. So basically, it's just $2.11 a month, and you get 3 extra months added to your subscription for free. I mean, that's a deal. And since Private Internet Access comes with 30-day money-back guarantee and 24/7 customer support, it's all risk-free for you. Why not give it a shot? So where you go is you head on over to privateinternetaccess.com/thebigthing and get private internet access today. That's privateinternetaccess.com/thebigthing. Make sure you do that. And by the way, should you do that and you like it and you're enjoying it and you realize if you don't like it, you can get your money back, which is awesome, but you're going to like it. If you do, head on over here and say, listen, I started using private internet access. I love it. Tell me. I tell the podcast reps, they tell Private Internet Access, and everybody gets happy. So, and that's also a good way to help this show out. You help us by getting one of our sponsors. All right. Let's move on over. We can talk about She-Hulk a little bit more if we want to do some predictions and things like that. Because I do want to know where we all think Daredevil is going to show up and all of that. But let's get to, I want to bring this one up. Where is it? Yeah. D23. D23 Expo. It's coming up on September 9th, 10th, and 11th, they say. But
2 weeks.
It is 2 weeks, which is insane. The 9th and the 10th are really where it's going to happen because I think the 11th is more so just for the expo itself.
I think the floor. Kind of like Comic-Con Sundays. Like, there's panels, but people are navigating their life.
Now, it's a smaller, I mean, obviously, compared to, like, Celebration and Comic-Con, it's a small, the panels and stuff that are happening, they still have other things out in the other rooms, but the big major panels, there's like 2 of them.
Yeah.
And the one on Friday is like the Disney animation and all. They usually always start with Disney animation.
Sense.
And then the next day is usually all the feature films. Now, the way it's set up, or at least the way it's described, and I'll bring up my email to make sure that it's accurate. It seems as if the animation is going to be on Friday, and then it's just Marvel and Lucasfilm the next day. So it doesn't, like, because a lot of times they did. I remember seeing a lot of different movies that they had. I remember they had this movie, The Finest Hours. At one point, they showed all the Disney movies. They showed a lot
the Buena Vista stuff.
Yeah, because
because
they have a lot of things now inside of there after Fox and all of that. So I don't know. What the hell's going on? I can't sign into my email now because I want to. I can't. It makes a lot of sense.
Private Internet Access.
I know. It's the truth. That's what I needed to do. 100%. I found it. I saw because I want to read this for sure so I can tell you guys exactly what the panels say.
Well, I mean, the other thing, because you had Celebration beginning of summer. Comic-Con just wrapped up like last month.
So, I mean, Celebration covered a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, what it feels like, and I think that's totally makes sense, is it feels like the way Steve Jobs would like announce, there's the new MacBook.
There's the
coming
September,
out,
then the summer.
And as he's walking up the stage, he would turn around and go, "Oh, and one more thing."
Yeah,
and that's what this feels like.
Yeah, I was wrong.
We're gonna get one more thing.
Mm-hmm. So here's what the panels will be. We are going to do Disney live action, but it's 3:30 on Friday, September 9th. Guests will be treated to new. So it is Disney live action, Pixar animation, and Walt Disney animation. So it's a combination of both. Now both Marvel and Lucasfilm has gotten so big they have their own panel now, but it used to be everything in one shot. So it's Walt Disney Studios live action, Pixar Animation Studios, and Walt Disney Animation Studios. Guests will be treated to new details, first looks, sneak peeks, surprises, and announcements regarding upcoming theatrical and Disney Plus titles from Disney live action, Pixar Animation Studios, and Walt Disney Animation Studios. Studio heads, filmmakers, and cast members will come together on stage with the inside scoop on some of those studios' most exciting titles. So that 3:30, I'm guessing that's going to be around an hour and a half. I bet you're out of there by 5 o'clock if I was to guess. So then September 10th is Saturday, September 10th at 10 a.m. is the Walt Disney Studios and Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios presentation. So filmmakers, celebrity talent, and surprise guests will join representatives from Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm, among others, on stage in Hall 23 to showcase theatrical and Disney Plus titles. Going behind the scenes of those studios, highly anticipated films, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so starting with the actual, I don't want to start to, we don't have to get into depth on the Friday panel because this is Capes and Cowls, and we don't have to guess about animation. What I will say is this. What I am looking forward to in that panel is, I remember when I went, I can't remember what year it was. I think it was 2011 maybe? 2011, or maybe even 2012, because I think I told you guys this. Frozen was coming out.
Yeah.
And they said, and I can't remember who announced it, but he said, okay, this is very special. We believe this song is going to be pretty big. So this is the first time anyone's ever hearing it live. Cool. Idina Menzel, come on out. She sang Let It Go. Yeah. And I remember going, oh, my God, this song is going to be. But at the time, 2012 or whatever it was, crappy phones can't do anything.
Oh,
as
right.
opposed to
where everyone's all out.
I recorded John Williams doing the Obi-Wan theme and put it up on the channel, and like 300,000 people watch it. You know? So it's like the same thing. If I'm there, I'm going to record. I want to hear people singing. I want to know who's going to be the next. I remember Dwayne Johnson came out when Moana was coming out, and this whole performance, like stuff like that. You're going to get something big. Those animation panels, when they come out on Fridays, they go hard.
Yeah.
Like, so it's going to be a lot of fun. But the same way that Marvel usually dominates the Hall H panel, it's going to be Marvel City. Lucasfilm's going to come out. They'll probably talk about Acolyte, hopefully. Maybe get some news on Lando. I don't know.
Will Andor be up by then?
Andor will be out already by then.
Okay.
No, they won't.
It'll
won't
be about to be out, right?
About to be out.
I hope they announce the new company that's taking over the Knights of the Old Republic projects, because you know that shit fell out, right?
Yeah, I know. They're not going to do that. They're not. That game's not. It's like 4 to 5 years away. They're not going to. Remember, they're not. If that panel is, let's say maybe it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
Unlikely. They're not going to waste their time on a game that's coming out in 4 or 5 years.
No.
Right?
I get it. I'm still pissed because they already did a port of the second one, which is okay compared to the first.
Well, they didn't have BioWare.
No, I know exactly, but they didn't finish the port, so it's glitched, and now that the company is just defunct, they'll never fix it. And now the new.
But you remember when you watch Batman Beyond and they use a lot of words that sound like words? This is that for me. You're like, and they port, and there's BioWare, and then they're defunct. I know the word defunct.
Yeah, now you know how I feel every time you talk.
I got your moment just now. I'm like, this is what it's like when people are comic books.
But to go into that panel, and we'll get into the Marvel stuff because that's going to be Marvel's going to be the juice of it. It'll be. I think you start with Lucasfilm. And I think with Lucasfilm, I think there's too many leaks and conversations now about the Acolyte, and there was nothing at Celebration.
Interesting.
I think the Acolyte talks. I think they show Ahsoka, the trailer again, right? They actually really released this time the Mandalorian trailer to the public. So it'll be Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Acolyte. Maybe you get some news on the film if it's coming out, if Taika's doing a film.
30, 40 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe 30 minutes, but if it's 40, I wouldn't be surprised. But that's really it, right? Maybe you get, or maybe they talk John Watts on Skeleton Crew.
Could.
Maybe. But it's all about Marvel, really. The other thing with Lucasfilm, you're going to get the Indiana Jones trailer, I think. I think you're going to tease her with Indiana Jones.
I think they need to. Because they did everything they could for a spectacle at Comic-Con without it, and at Celebration they gave us everything short of a trailer.
But you got a song, you got a song.
But they gave us that's the line.
Yeah.
Now it's time for a trailer.
If they were talking about Indiana Jones at Celebration, which made no sense why they were talking about Indiana Jones at Celebration.
A year
The
and a
same
half
thing with
away.
Willow. Oh, they're probably going to give you Willow too. And I hate to say it like that. Like,
I love you're like, hey, we got to sit through a 4-minute
I'm actually
Willow.
very excited about Willow, but I don't want to see it again. I don't want them to spend any time on it. There's so many other things they can spend time on, and I get it. They're trying to promote it. So like, shut up, stupid. We need to promote it. But if there was
that is why we're at D23,
right.
Kristian Harloff.
If there was anywhere to promote it, though, it's at D23.
Yeah.
It's not a Star Wars Celebration.
No. It was weird that it was a celebration.
They took up so much time at that.
And I'm excited for Willow too, but it felt like that's not in the Star Wars universe.
So they'll spend time on it there. I think that Lucasfilm, I hate to say it, but I think that their panel is going to be like, okay, let's get to Marvel, because Marvel has so many announcements they're going to make.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with you on this one, Coy. What do you think we're going to see at D23 for sure? Give me. I want to hear the predictions. This is so. By the way,
official predictions.
Here are the official predictions of what we're getting in general from D23 Marvel. Coy, what say you?
I think Phase 5 is going to have a couple surprises in it where they're going to show the big board and they're going to be like, and by the way, we didn't forget about blah, and they're going to throw in Armor Wars, and I think there's going to be at least 1 or 2 things we don't know about, like added to the slate. So I think we're going to see the slate, and it's digital, so they're just going to go squeak, and they're going to add stuff like they did with that joke with Serpent Squad with Captain America. We're going to see some retooling. And then I think we're going to fill out Phase 6. I think we're going to see the X-Men announced. I think we're going to get 1 or 2 solo X-Men movies followed by a big X-Men event. I think we might get something in the way of like a because She-Hulk is going to be 5 weeks out by then, 4, maybe they'll announce something as like, and you're loving Tatiana Maslany, she's in this Avengers, or we get a Hulk thing. I think they're going to use the momentum of Hulk in some way. And I do think we're going to get an announcement with Guardians getting an officially released trailer like to the public, and I could see them doing an on-stage thing with Kang. Like, I could see Kang being utilized because they're going to need to set him up, and I think they announce who Doctor Doom is.
What do you think, Winston?
I think we get X-Men, and I think I'm going to be very specific. I think that we get Juan Carlos Esposito or Taron Egerton.
Confirmed.
One of the 2 of them, if not both,
right?
In whatever role they're playing.
Taron Egerton's Xavier, Giancarlo is Wolverine.
I mean, look, man, I would love to see Juan Carlos Esposito running around just like, letting Gus Fring actually kill somebody. But I think we're going to get both of those. I think you'll get another thing with Wakanda Forever. I think that there's no way they don't lean further.
Too close.
It's what, 6 weeks out from the movie release?
Yeah.
That's a good call.
I think that they dig in even deeper with that.
Maybe trailer 2. I mean, it'd be a little early for a trailer 2, but not so early.
Yeah, no.
Not really. It's only 2 months out.
Yeah, but usually a trailer 2 is like, what, 3 weeks? It's like right before.
But I can see something. If maybe it's they play the trailer and maybe it's like an extended cut. So then right at the end, all of a sudden, there's one more scene that pops up and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I can see something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think Coy's kind of hit the nail on the head. I think we not only maybe get X-Men live, I think we might get a trailer for X-Men 97.
That'd be cool. That might be on Friday. Animation panel.
But that's Marvel, so wouldn't it still stick to Saturday?
It might. It probably
They did Marvel Animation separate at Comic-Con, though. Remember the Spider-Man thing came out
this
separate.
says Disney, but I think Winston's right. I think that Friday is specific on
Disney Animation,
Pixar, and Disney live action.
Could be totally right.
So I think that if there's anything Marvel related, especially if it plays into it all, it'll pop. Whoops! What happened there? I hope I didn't shut the show off. But what happened?
We're still here.
We're still here. But so I think. But no, I think that what they'll do is whether it's Spider-Man, what's it called?
Freshman year.
Look at this. we got the dude.
Why you look so sad, bro?
Because he's trying to get in.
I've never seen him that still.
Piss on something.
Never seen him still like that.
He's like, you really not gonna open this door for me?
No, I'm
Sass.
not. I'll tell you, when I saw Beast with Idris Elba last night.
Oh, how was that?
It's all right. It's all right.
I love him, but
I love him. But when I came back and I'm looking at the dog, and I'm just like tossing this little dog around like he's a lion. I'm like, come on, I'll bite you. And my dog's like, I'm trying to snort. But anyway,
but yeah, I think that remember there were some dates that were announced that we had no projects for.
That's what I think we fill out.
So that's part of it, and I think what Coy said makes sense. Is you not only fill those dates, but they go, one more thing, boop boop. This is going to go in here, and
we get jobs.
Exactly. Because there's too much stuff that we have already sort of been told about.
Yeah.
I just think maybe they weren't fully ready to present yet. / they wanted to make sure they had something for this weekend.
I also think that X-Men, you save that for your home field advantage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you want that on your con.
It's got to be the last. It's got to be the last big announcement, though, that they make. Because I don't know if they're gonna. It really depends on how much time they have, right? Because I don't know if they're gonna necessarily announce Doom. There's two sides of it. There's side one that if they want to announce who the actor is, then when that actor shows up in the post credits, maybe then it's like, oh yeah, they announced him and there he is. Then there's the other side of it that goes, don't announce him.
Oh my God, it's
so and so. I actually saw this comment in the comments section. I can't remember, it was last week. Never even thought about it, and think it's an amazing suggestion. Anthony Starr as Dr. Doom. Who's Homelander.
That's fun.
No, I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to think about that.
Homelander, he'd be able to do it.
He's so intense. He's pretty.
He is. He's phenomenal. I
don't know why I don't feel right about it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah,
I
you know what I mean? Like, it's close.
I understand.
You're thinking about him as Homelander, though, not as Banshee.
It's. I think the problem is Doom is obviously.
I don't hear his voice is lower, but obviously it's a comic book.
That's part of it. You can also change it. Doom is vain, but in a very different way than the way Anthony.
Yeah, but he's not going to play Homelander.
No, I know he's. I know he's not. There's a certain level of like rage that Anthony like does so well. I almost would want him in a different role. If that makes sense.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Don't stereotype him from Homelander. He's a really talented dude that by playing and the look, I think he could. I don't think he's going to get cast. I think that the casting is probably Dracula or something in Blade, which I hope isn't the case. I'd rather see him take a major role.
Yeah, I'd rather him live in the MCU a bit.
I think he's a major star, man. I think he's a major star, and just and whether he's just like kind of this throwaway villain for one, and it's the biggest vampire of all time. It's like, I know, but like, how long is he going to be around for? Maybe he doesn't want to be tied in tomorrow. Maybe he doesn't want to play Dr. Doom that long.
Sure,
maybe that's.
I mean, I could see Doom being like a 7 or 8 year commitment.
Yeah,
like, that could be a thing.
Yeah, it would be a thing. So maybe he doesn't want to do that. So I understand.
I like the idea though. I'm thinking about it.
But anyway, it goes back to the fact that if they do the casting, if they actually if
Winston's casting off his shirt right now.
Honestly, we needed Eddie Brock. I actually would love Anthony Starr as Venom, bro.
I like that a lot.
He would kill that.
We're not going to get him anytime soon.
No, I know.
No, but you're saying in general. But I'm talking about at actual Comic-Con, Comic-Con, D23, what I think is going to happen, I think X-Men will probably be one way. If it is casting, I think that if Taron Egerton was indeed cast as Wolverine, you get it there because it's just been so much.
I still hope it's a show first.
Johnny Storm.
I hope Wolverine's
a
show.
Johnny, what do we think about him as Johnny Storm?
Oh, that could be interesting.
I like it.
Yeah,
I've always seen Johnny Storm as a little more goth, but I like it. It's not like he can't.
You mean
be.
You're saying Johnny Storm wasn't goth?
I was thinking Johnny Blaze this whole time.
No,
my brain is picturing Ghost Rider. Goth Human Torch.
I literally, when you said that, saw just like Johnny Storm come in. Oh, God, I want to fight.
I know. Sure.
Guys, Spider-Man 3's Johnny Storm. Everyone,
stop, Sue.
Flame on, I guess.
Yeah, right. Sue, stop. Stop.
All of a sudden, he's singing Linkin Park as he goes to fight crime. I've become so young.
He's like. Yeah, stretch. Stretch his arm. So
noted goth Johnny Storm.
No,
guys, I read comics.
You do. Anyway, it would be interesting, but I think X-Men for sure. More TV shows. I think you're right, though, Coy. I think Phase 6 is going to be filled out. I think that they have a full-fledged plan going into it, so I think we start to get those fill outs.
The other thing that's interesting is, and that's why I have to believe that if. I think Doom is a good call, but I still think Sue might show up in Wakanda.
Rumors of Thing too.
But I think Thing maybe here in She-Hulk before She-Hulk's over. I think you have to let the Fantastic Four be known before you get to Phase 6 because you're waiting so long to introduce them. I think that's also why then the X-Men have to be what ends up happening with Phase 5. And you've already tipped your hat that that's the direction you're moving by teasing the old Professor X, by calling Miss Marvel a mutant.
Sure.
I think you're already letting us know that's what, and bringing in Namor,
right,
who's also a mutant. You're tipping your hat. This is where we're going right now. which will eventually get us to the first family in that moment, and now we've got all our pieces, and here we go.
Right.
That's the vibe that's coming. I feel.
And they've got to do a lot between now and Secret Wars, so I see them adding to Phase 5 and 6 at D23.
Isn't Kevin Feige like a massive Fantastic Four fan?
Huge.
He is, right?
Yeah. Like, so he's going to care. He's going to invest in that team a lot.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I don't really give a shit about the Fantastic Four person.
When they're good, they're great. When they're not, they're awful.
That's what I
There's
mean.
no middle ground.
And that's part of it, I think. I think the only character that I really cared about was Johnny Storm, and it's because I'm a kid. He's the youngest one on the group. Like
he's cool.
The mouth. He's the cool one.
I thought he's listening to The Cure.
No, you were loving this shit right here.
Yeah.
Big Crow album fan.
Oh, speaking of The Cure, by the way, we can transition off of D23.
And I know that's Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, but have you guys been watching The Sandman?
I haven't started yet because I want to watch.
It's awesome.
I want to watch it.
More people need to talk.
Well, because my problem is I can't watch it casually, and I haven't had time to watch something.
Yeah.
Because I want to watch Sandman.
So I'm 4 episodes in, and it's one of those. Every time I try to get. Like, I'm like, okay, like last night, like I said, I went and saw Beast, and I'm like, okay, I'll come back and watch the same man.
You don't want to half watch it.
Well, I didn't want to have watched it. I had other work I had to do. I had thumbnails and crap I had to make, and I'm like, I want to invest in it, and what I've seen so far, I really, really like, and I think that and I asked people on Twitter, I posted, I was like, why aren't more people talking about this? And the answer I kept seeing more and more of was the same problem, because Netflix dumped it all in at one time. And we're in a place where it's She-Hulk and Lord of the Rings, and all these things are coming out, and it's going to be week-by-week conversation. One show with 10 to 12 episodes, it gets very
2 days.
quick.
They have to
2
be
days.
really careful right now because obviously they lost all those subscribers previously and whatnot. If Netflix isn't careful because everybody is bringing out their heavy hitters now, they're really going to find themselves in some serious trouble because you're about to lose Stranger Things.
Next
2024.
year. Cobra Kai comes out in September, but it's all dumped in one shot.
The same
So that'll have 2 days, 48 hours of talk.
That's it.
But a lot of your franchises are coming to a wrap.
Right.
Like Cobra Kai, this is the last season?
No, it's the season. They haven't really said yet, but this is season 5.
Okay, so
But Stranger Things only has one more, 2024. I hear you.
One more there. Let's make an assumption here with Cobra Kai. I want it to go on as long as it makes logical sense, but let's make an assumption of
Ozark just ended.
1 to 3 seasons. Ozark just ended.
They're losing some of their comedy exclusivity.
And so when you put all of that into the fact that they do not remain the relevant part of the conversation, that it's HBO because here's House of the Dragon, it's Disney because here's She-Hulk,
Amazon, Lord of the Rings.
You're about to get written out of this equation.
They've got to change. They've got to change their strategy, and they've got. I know that some people love it still, but they got to get rid of the dump in one day because you got to be part of the water cooler conversation.
Absolutely.
It is
TV's
so
made
crucial.
to be talked about.
Yes,
that's the difference.
And I loved dumping it all at one point. I was like, I get to watch it right away. But after all the stuff that's coming out now that the streaming wars have begun, you have these conversations where you're talking every week about a show, and it's like, like I said, Sandman. It all came out. It came out one day, and I heard a couple of chatter about it. I'm like, I still got to see that. Had I not remembered the chatter about it, no one's talking about it.
And my issue is I want to watch it in a contained environment at dark. Like I want to watch it right, but now that no one's talking about it, I feel behind, and that's dumb. It came out a week and a half ago. I shouldn't feel like, I missed my window.
It's old news. It's not old news.
Because the other way you could do it, because there's so many people that instantly they push back. They love binging, and they're like, no, screw you, stop trying to. And I'm like, okay,
wait.
There's 2 ways that could happen. One, you wait for the 5 weeks to be over and then just watch it all at once. Or B, they could even release it. It seemed like they were teasing it with Stranger Things, but I think the better move would have been drop like 3, drop like another 3, drop your major finale. If you do it that way, at least you've given yourself almost a month of time where you get the bingers happy and you let people like savor this.
I like the 3-episode drop that they do sometimes with the for the shows for sure, but I think I even found myself getting invested in shows that I wonder if I would have been as invested if they were all like one dump, like the Offer and The Old Man. Like I started waiting, like
tonight's the night. Also the excitement of the night
of the night dropping. You know?
So last night I was gonna start Sandman, and then my great grandmother passed away, and I was very nostalgic. So I wanted to go see something that reminded me of her and my grandparents. So her like the next generation are big Elvis fans. Hadn't seen Elvis yet. Finally saw Elvis. I was excited to talk to you about it. I saw Elvis, and I felt so silly being like, wait, this came out like 3 weeks ago, and I feel like I'm removed from the conversation because of 3 weeks. That's what's dangerous about the binge thing, is that a movie shouldn't be irrelevant in 3 weeks. Like, it shouldn't. And a show like Sandman shouldn't be irrelevant in a week. And now, because I saw Elvis instead of Sandman, I'm like, oh, I've failed my media credential. Like, that's silly.
What's so
also,
funny?
Elvis is spectacular.
It's great. And so the thing is that when you see these platforms that come up with a strategy, and Netflix was known for they're dumping it, and you could binge it all, right? But things change.
You gotta evolve, dude.
You gotta evolve. Strategies change, and I think that what you were saying, like Winston, is that now what they have been doing well, and what they'll continue to do, is they make these movies, and I still think that Gray Man was a pretty good movie. I don't know why everybody hated that movie. I enjoyed that movie, but when watching a movie like Beast last night, now Beast is a movie like if you're like, I want to take my lady out to a movie tonight. I don't have anything to watch. Should we go see Beast? Sure, why not? But if it's like, oh, I gotta go, is this a movie I have to see in the theater? No, you could see this movie like the movie world has changed dramatically, and not just because of the pandemic, not just because of that, but because of streaming. Because you could see a movie in a capacity like Beast is like an hour and 30 minutes, and it's trying to be the Gray, which it doesn't accomplish, and it's more like Jaws 4 by the end of it. But either way, it's like, okay, I'm just going to shove popcorn in my head. I'll watch this lion movie. But you can watch these movies on streaming now, and Netflix is doing that well. They're making quality movies. I don't know if that's their only play.
I mean, if we're being honest about it, their big play is that we don't talk about enough. They've actually kind of cornered reality TV. They have dominated that. So you're talking about Love Is Blind. You're talking about The Circle.
It's called Dick Boy Island or whatever.
That's HBO, Fuckboy Island.
Okay.
But
Dick Boy.
Yo, it's Dick Boy Island.
Indian matchmaker.
Is Fuckboy any better?
Just picturing a giant cock-shaped island like Dick Boy Island.
Is our mascot.
Yeah. So the best part is they have to reveal.
Wilson.
They have to reveal if they're a nice guy or an F boy. So I'm just imagining it's a giant dick being like, I actually am a dick. Well, we knew that.
Right. You were wearing that inflatable cock outfit.
You were a walking penis. But
and who are your friends? My bulls.
JOYMODE.
Oh God! But that's the one thing I will give them credit for. Documentaries and reality TV, they have cornered that market right now, and they're getting a lot of buzz from that. But what they still have to be careful about, I know that's significantly cheaper to produce than some of these major
$7.
You are still losing subscribers,
and you're losing the credibility that Netflix has.
You're losing water cooler conversation.
Yeah,
that's what you're losing.
Because I don't talk about reality TV.
Water cooler conversation is so important. It is so important. And I remember, and I'm back on when we were talking about on Collider Live, and I said, now give it all to me once. And I'm like, I don't want to do the week by week. That's the way of the dinosaur.
You've seen the light.
And
things change.
Because
and that's
like
not
Mandalorian.
To say people don't talk about reality TV. It's just a different type of conversation.
Yeah,
like there are pockets, and I know it makes a lot.
Look
but
at
I know
Bachelor.
People, yeah.
Bachelor's week to week, and it's been on for years.
Huge.
That show will be on when our grandkids are dead.
Yeah,
that show will be on forever.
And I just don't want to insult that audience because that is an audience. I just think it's a different audience than this conversation. Yeah, and that's
I
so
worked on the show.
Yeah.
But either way, so there's a lot, and I'll tell you what they use a lot on the Bachelor. They're using JOYMODE. They should be.
Let the record show I didn't know.
They should be. They should be. And I'll tell you what, well, they're young. It doesn't matter. It's not what this is. That's not what this is. Winston can tell you.
Oh my God.
Yes, it is. This is the stuff. This is the stuff. Because if you're sitting around and you're like, oh, I'm gonna line at the gas station. Look at this. I'm looking over to the side here. What do I see? Oh, look at these hard-on pills. They're good for me. They're not. I know they're tempting because you think, oh, I can just get them here and I'll be all right. But the stuff that's in there, terrible. JOYMODE is here to save the day. It doesn't matter if you're happy or you're unhappy with your performance in the bedroom. You can be thrilled with it. Why not make it better? Working out with sex. JOYMODE Sexual Performance Booster is like pre-workout, but for sex. And you go to great lengths to biohack your way to whether it's mental and physical performance. What about the bedroom? You don't think about it because you always just think, oh, I don't have problems there. It's not about that. It's about getting better. JOYMODE makes natural and science-backed sexual wellness products for men. The Sexual Performance Booster, as I said, is a pre-workout for sex. It was created because the products on the market, they're not great. And they knew they could do better. And they ain't lying. Prescriptions come with all sorts of side effects, and the over-the-counter gas station pills are sketchy and fraudulent, but lots of guys take both because they don't have a better option, but now you do. You tear open the sachet and you mix it with 6 to 8 ounces of water, just like your favorite electrolyte packet. For best use, consume anywhere from 45 minutes to 4 hours prior to sexual activity. You're going to notice better blood flow, better erection quality, firmness, and increased sexual energy and drive. If you want to spice things up in the bedroom and boost your sexual performance and do it naturally without any nasty prescription drugs, special offer for the Big Thing audience. If you go to joymode.com, use joymode.com/bigthing or enter Big Thing at checkout for 20% off your first order. If you do that, you go to use joymode.com/bigthing for 20% off your first order. Thank you to JOYMODE. Now, speaking of Big Thing and JOYMODE, Winston?
Yeah. Hey, dude, if you look, JOYMODE, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think I was mentally prepared in the sense that my nipples were hard like it was a 90s sitcom, and I was a white woman in a cold studio, bro. Literally, we were like, okay, let's take it. It doesn't take that long to kick in. We were playing a strip Mario Kart.
And within 40 minutes, Winston turned to his girlfriend and said, shut that shit off now.
No, here was the real problem. She goes, well, before we do anything, I'm kind of hungry. Can we go get food? I'm like, I can't go get food right now.
Unless you want me to fuck a sandwich.
I almost fucked my Popeye chicken sandwich, bro. It was that. She was like, wasn't that going to be hard? I was like, yeah, this is hard too. I don't know.
It's true. Turned over and knocked over 7 plants.
Now, see, I only tried the one, so I feel like I need more data. So JOYMODE, I need more information.
I'm telling you,
dude,
and it's got nothing to do with. Well, I don't have a problem there. You don't need to have a problem there. This is again, when you go to work out at the gym.
You put mustard on your hot dog, enhance it.
100%, man. 100%.
It's the same way I would actually make this argument. It genuinely felt like sexual pre-workout.
Yes.
It genuinely.
That's what they say.
Further in the mood, just like hyped up. I would say like anything else in life. You maybe cycle it. I wouldn't do it every single time.
Right.
When you want a special, it's like adding a special sauce.
And you have the packets, and again, you get 20% off.
Oh, bro. You leave the restaurant. Your lady's like, "Ooh, you trying?" You're like, "Hell yeah! Hold on, I need one more glass of water."
That's right.
That shit go on.
And that's it. Hey, we forgot the keys. Don't worry about it. Hot wire the car.
Take care of it.
You won't even hot wire the car. You go to the parking lot. You be like, "What are we gonna do right here?"
That's it. I'm not gonna end with this. We're gonna end with something. Where the hell is it? All right, let's end with this one. The Flash star Ezra Miller seeking treatment for complex mental health issues. Now, this kind of carries off from where we were last week on this show. We had a big conversation about it. And the conversation pretty much was, all right, here are the 3 options that were presented by Warner Brothers. Option 1, Ezra goes out, apologizes, does press release the movie, go. Option 2, Ezra doesn't say anything. They do limited press on the movie. They put it out. They recast. Option 3, they don't do anything with the movie. They just let it sit. And then our option 4 was just recast and spend more money on it. So they went with option 1, obviously, and so did Ezra Miller, because Ezra Miller apologized, said, I'm sorry, getting treated. And I've talked about this kind of at depth on a couple of different shows, so I'm very curious where you guys go. My overall thoughts was, when somebody needs help, doesn't matter how they're going to get it, as long as they get it, good step. Now, clearly, was pushed into it because it was, okay, hey, we need this movie to come out, get your stuff together. Getting help no matter what, but it's still, what's the intent behind it? Where do you feel on all this, Coy?
The ramifications of them getting help is more important to me than the apology. Like, they're an actor. I will believe the words out of their mouth because that is their profession. So I won't necessarily believe the apology, but if I see the consequence of getting help, that's more important to me. I want them to be happy. I want them to be secure. I want them to be healthy. I want them to be wherever they need to find their chi, their balance, their zen. Like, I want that for them as a human-to-human connection. that doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to believe the bits of publicity that come out between now and then. I don't think there's a part of me that's going to go like, oh, this curated statement feels like a thing until I want them to just come out and feel more adjusted. Like, and that's more just like the human to human thing than even the movie. So if they seem to find what they need, that means more to me than someone telling me that I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Winston?
I mean, I'm in the same spot. I don't believe the apology.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like this is a corporate play.
Because they pretty much told you this is what was going to happen.
2 days before, they're like, hey, we've got a corporate play.
Right.
You're doing this. That's what that felt like to me. And even the statement, it happens through PR. That's what PR is for. The statement was released through PR. It wasn't, Ezra going on camera or whatever, or anything through, a social media account or anything, which also obviously can be done with PR. I agree the most important part, because I remember being really disgusted with folks that were talking about Anne Heche with her passing, and that they were like, what a piece of shit, like she is out here drunk and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, what she did was fucked up and it really affected a bunch of people, but this is a human being that lost their life over, like, we should be as concerned about the BS that they pulled off as trying to wishing we had gotten help for Anne beforehand to help with the stuff that she was going through that led her to that point. I feel the same way about Ezra.
Right. So that's kind of my point, is that at least they're getting help, regardless of what. I happen to agree with you. It's like, would Ezra Miller have chose to get help had not Warner Brothers been knocking down the door and basically had his mom do it? Plus, the other thing, as I said on other shows that I will reiterate here, that doesn't exonerate or that doesn't excuse them at all for any potential crimes that will be charged, yes or no.
Right.
If they're guilty, and guilty, and need to be punished for those things.
Right.
Separate conversation as far as from getting help. Getting help is help. Now, that all plays into, well, what does this mean for The Flash, right? So what it means is, and it's also very risky for Warner Brothers too, because they have to ensure that Ezra Miller is going to be on their best behavior until like July or whenever the movie comes out. And it seems like every 3 weeks Ezra Miller gets in trouble.
Yeah.
Now, so if Ezra Miller's getting help, great. I still think, no matter what, after this movie comes out, you gotta recast.
I can't imagine that.
You gotta recast.
That I feel like that's already decided. One more person getting help is always good. So if that is how it happened, great. And then if the movie doesn't harm anyone by coming out and people get to keep the art that they made, great. Like, and, this is a cast of 50 and it's thousands of crew. I want them to get their work shown. So for me, as long as releasing the film doesn't in any way make people feel like whatever crimes we don't know about or whatnot, like as long as it doesn't feel like, oh, everything's fine, I want them to get help. That's what matters to me.
No, absolutely. I think it is it is equally as important, because I think that's one of the big things with like AA and NA and all that. It's as much about trying to move forward as it is making amends. Mm-hmm. So again, just because you got the help, like you both said, that does not absolve you. It just means that you are at least acknowledging what's going on, and you will pay your consequences for that, and then make strides to not be that person anymore.
It's so interesting in the business of movies and arts in general, art, music, movies, film, play. You have to be exposed who you are to do the work correctly. So it's interesting. And like Elvis was beautifully handled that, where how much of you is on that stage, how much of the artist and the art are this piece of work. What does that mean when you celebrate the art? What does that mean when you look at the thing itself if the person that made it has these things? And it's, like I was a big Marilyn Manson fan growing up, and like hearing all these things more and more about what kind of person that is, it's really interesting and alarming to celebrate any of this art when it also isn't just that one person, but it's largely that person. And it's also a matter of like how the show business, the business side is terrifying, because in a lot of ways people have to be taken advantage of in order for these companies to make money. Right. So it's also, that scares me. It's all just, these are conversations that have been had for 100 years, but this is a show about conversations about the arts, and it's interesting to look at a new version of it where we are so connected. We are always a second away from hearing a news story, and we are so connected to individuals, and we're going to see a lot of shifts as things get more and more connected.
to bring it back to Capes and Cowls in that regard, it's one of the things that I appreciate the most about characters like the Hulk, for example, where it's like I wasn't in my right mind. But I still did this. So it's a matter of I've got to do better in the future and figure out how to not Hulk out and destroy everything.
Yeah.
But I also need to make amends for the damage I've caused.
All right.
Great way to end it. I totally agree.
Great way to end. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here today. I know this is our, I guess, third episode of Capes and Cowls. And it's been a pleasure so far having you with us on the journey, and obviously with both Winston and Coy. And so for you,
no, you got it wrong. Wilson,
Cracker,
Perfect. Hey, look,
it's our new band. We need new art.
You said it. All right. So look, the other thing is make sure you go to Big Thing Audio. Go check out us on Apple Podcasts. Check us out on Spotify. Anywhere podcasts are found. It helps tremendously. It helps us get great sponsors. And we hope that you guys will, again, go into the description. See the sponsor that's right for you. Go in there and check it out. And leave us comments, likes, the whole thing. Let the algorithm going. And if you haven't already done it, if you've been listening to this show the whole entire time and you still have, get some JOYMODE, sure. But why not in the middle of it, get to 70,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. Help us out. Trying to get on tour, doing some live shows. A lot of things kind of coming up. I'm hoping to make those announcements soon. I've been crossing my fingers, waiting. So for Winston and Coy, it's me, it's you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Peace.